Hello and good day to you. Welcome to our Impact Conversation. And today we have another special guest with us. She's an author. She's a compassionate, knowledgeable, and experienced family nurse in the United States. She's experienced in management of acute and chronic disease. She takes on holistic approach to providing the best care for patients. In her book, In Victory Steps to Overcome Diabetes, she outlines her remarkable journey of overcoming diabetes. And that book will help you along the way, no doubt. And in her book, she talks about her journey from being gripped with disease to a revitalized life. And, we are looking forward to having this conversation. No doubt some of you can relate to this already. And we're looking forward to having this conversation with none other than Dr. Grace Ogala. Hello, Dr. Grace.
Hi,
Good to
thanks for having me.
Good to have you. Good to have you. It is a pleasure. A friend of mine recommended that I must have this conversation to you, Stacy. Thank you, Stacy, because I'm looking forward to all the wonderful things we're going to learn from you. So thank you for joining us. Now, I've given a bit of background about you, and the work that you are doing over there in the United States. But if somebody was to ask, who is Dr. Grace Ogala, what would you say?
Dr. Grace Ogala is a very compassionate person who just sold out to helping people. I help people materially, and my main focus and my calling is really helping people through my medical knowledge. I have started so many support groups. It's just outlets to reach out to people. I love helping the less privileged that cannot afford the expensive medical care. And let me just give you a little bit background about myself.
Yes.
Yeah, like you introduced me, my name is Dr. Grace Ogala. Became a nurse practitioner in 2016. And before then, I was a registered nurse. I became a nurse in 2009, and I worked in diverse field. I was actually a float nurse, means I worked in every unit in the hospital.
Right.
And I gained so much knowledge. And I've really seen people suffering from chronic diseases, and I provided excellent care for them. And I went ahead, I said, I need to be a provider, I need to be a nurse practitioner so I can start prescribing medication for people. And that was how I went a step further, and thankfully I graduated, I became a nurse practitioner. And I've been doing well by the grace of God. And my main motivation is my father.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my uncle, my physical uncle. My
Right.
spiritual uncle is Almighty God. And as a little child, my father always told me that I was going to be a doctor.
And did you believe it?
um, well, I believed it to an extent, but I grew up in Nigeria where
Yeah.
we did not really have so much opportunities. But my father was a man of faith. He is a pastor and he is a teacher. He knew what he was saying. I don't know if it was God that revealed it to him. I don't know how he knew about that. I was an accountant in Nigeria, but in 2001, I moved over here to the United States. And then it happened that I went into the medical field, you know. And before I knew it, I gradually progressed, climbed the ladder, and I became a nurse practitioner. I took it a step further to get my doctorate. And it was really interesting that my father came to visit me in 2019. And it was during the 5 months that he was in my house that I got my doctorate.
Wow.
And I know. And I showed him my documentation and everything. I said, Daddy, I'm not a doctor. He was like, yes, I said it, it happened. And after the 5 months he stayed with me, he was about to leave. And he came to my room one day. He stood by the door and said, listen, my daughter, I see that you know so much about diabetes. You just speak about diabetes freely, even without looking at the textbook. So much knowledge in this area. He said, do you realize that people don't have this knowledge like you do in the area of diabetes? And so many lives have been lost to diabetes and so many disabled. I was looking at my father. He said, do me a favor, my daughter. I want you to spread the news that you can overcome diabetes to the world. And I was looking at my father like, I'm just rejoicing I graduated to be a doctor. Here you are again, giving me another mission.
So he's
I know
challenging
I
you to
cannot
go.
argue with him. Yeah, he's a man of God. I cannot argue with him. I just looked at Daddy. I said, okay, Daddy. And I didn't know that he was going to die 7 months later.
Oh, wow.
I know. He told me that March 2019 and he died October 2019.
Wow.
And then I remembered all he told me. And I put together all the parts and puzzles and I started writing. But I didn't really take it so seriously. But in 2021, I was diagnosed with diabetes.
You're definitely a man of faith and a man who can see the future then, because, of all these things you're talking about and you didn't realize that you were going to be the one who is in that situation. You have put so much in there, and I want to go back before, there's so much to unpack in here. You talk about your father growing up in Nigeria and not having the things and the means as to get there, but your father had said you're going to be a doctor. So what was it like as a child? Tell me about the grace as a child growing up, knowing that your father is a man of faith, but he wants you to become a doctor. What did you do in that tell me about that early stage of your childhood?
I went to school. He sent me to school. I actually went to a Catholic school. And I was very good in the sciences. I was still helping people. Even the people I helped in Nigeria became doctors. And they just couldn't understand why I was not privileged to be a doctor in Nigeria, despite my knowledge. But I did not give up on God. I have to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I just believed. My father said it. I believe it. There's something he sees in me. And I just kept doing my best. I went into school of accountancy. I became an accountant. I also studied banking and finance. I actually worked in an oil company in Nigeria. I was just doing my best over there, believing God for the best in my life. But there was a word of prophecy that did come to me and said that all my degrees in Nigeria, that I was not going to use any of them to work. I was like, oh my goodness. So what a waste. So that means all my struggle in Nigeria educational system, I wouldn't even use it. But I believe the word of prophecy. The one that got me the most was Bishop Miles Moreau. When he came to Nigeria in
yeah.
2000, it was Impact 2000. He came to preach at Church of God Mission. I sing in the choir, but on that very day, I did not sing. And before Bishop Miles Moreau could start preaching, he just felt the presence of God. He said, there is just somebody here greater than me. Oh my God. You are a choir member, but for some reason you did not sing. He said, you are a female, you know yourself. There is a huge call of the Lord upon your life. He said, I need you right now. Come here. I need to anoint you and set you apart for the work ahead. Oh my God, nobody came up. He prophesied and prophesied. I'm like, oh my God, what is he talking about? But the Spirit of the Lord kept telling me, it's you. He's you he's calling for. But again, my mother just died. And, I was in a hopeless state, like, who am I? But the Spirit of the Lord made me to come out. As soon as I stepped out, Bishop Miles Moreau said, you are the one. Oh
Wow.
my God. It was the story of John the Baptist and Jesus that I saw. He started imparting me. He started praying all over me. And I received that miracle. And I was speechless because I didn't know how much God had in me. And then I went home. Then in 2001, I had two people came to seek my hand in marriage the
Mm.
next year after Bishop prayed for me.
Right.
One was in UK, one was in US. And I was so young, I was like 21 years old. I was not even thinking of marriage. I was busy doing other things. And the Spirit of the Lord said, this is it. You gotta go. There's no way. Nigeria is not your country. You have to go. And I ended up getting married and I came to the United States of America.
So that was
So
a transition from,
yes,
all that you have done in Nigeria, your studies and everything. You did your journey there, your mission field, but your mission field was other places. And through that transition, how was that transition from Nigeria to the United States?
it was smooth. I wouldn't lie, even though it was just the belief in God that this is where God is leading me that kept me. I have to be honest with you. There was even a dream I had. Somebody was coming from the northern part of the world to get married to me. And in the dream, I was asking my dad, do you know him? There was just too much God was revealing at the moment that gave me the conviction that no matter what I go through, God is in it and he will lead me to it and not bring me through it. And it was quite a rough part, but I made it. I kept on pushing, holding on firmly to the word of God that faileth not, nor changeth not. And I have to be honest with you, the Americans were very, very supportive of me, helpful to me. I felt so much at home when I came to this country. People even call me their sister. Whenever I say, oh, I don't have no relative in America, people just get like, what? So I just knew this is the land, like a promised land where God wants me to be.
All right.
And God provided all my resources. I went to school, even though it was on student loan. I made it through. And even the American government has been so supportive, grants, loans, everything they provided for me. So I have every reason to help the Americans to overcome diabetes. I really do. And I love them. And not just only Americans, worldwide. I
Yes.
have all my fans, followers, and it's just amazing just how much love people have for me worldwide.
Now, when you started your journey in the medical field, how was that? Because you have always been doing accounting and business, and then you get into the United States. Tell me that process of going into the medical field to becoming where you are now, a doctorate in nursing.
It was good. It was my passion. It's my first love. So it was like, come back home, kid. That was how I felt. Like I love accounting. Don't get me wrong, but you know, I preferred medical
Right.
because I felt I had a calling in the medical field. It was just like today, God ministered to my heart in the church and said, your type of evangelism is very unique. It's your evangelism is true medical, spreading medical knowledge. As you are spreading medical knowledge, you will exalt the name of God. That is my calling, and God has revealed it to me time after time. I feel so much at home in the medical field, so much at home because this is my calling. This is what God told me. He said, if I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto you. That was what God told me, that if I will lift him up in my practice, in my profession, he will draw men to me. That's why people wonder, oh, why do you have so much followers? Why this, that? When my book is trending on Amazon now, the Lord reminded me again, if I be lifted up,
Yeah, yeah.
I will draw all men to you. And if you read my book carefully, almost in every chapter of the book, I talked about God. Even the last chapter, it was a prayer session, and it comes from my covenant with God. If I be lifted up, I will draw all men unto you. And
And
God is faithful.
I mean, you talk about your dad and the inspiration he was to you. Tell us a bit more about what this father you have, because there's not so many people would have a father that believed in and was so inspirational in that your one's journey. Tell us about that man that you grew to call dad.
My dad is wonderful. He is a man of faith, like I mentioned before. From childhood, he always loved God. He was a child that was set apart. He was born into an idol worshiping family, but he told me that I just did not want to be like them. I will stay hungry all day and never eat their food that is sacrificed to idols. I rather die of hunger than eat that food. And what they were not doing, they were taking away his own meat and food before they start preparing the food for the idols. So that was who he was. He knew his God. He wanted to remain. His life was holiness unto the Lord. I must ever be. That was my father.
And that is so good that you have lived up to what believed in what he said, and you carried on that faith journey. And you said in 7 months before he died, he told you about writing about diabetes, and then you found out that you had diabetes. Tell us, how was that? You're doing all these work, you're doing such great work, you're helping the community, you're providing medical care to all these people, and then your medical care is now in danger. How was that feeling for you? How did faith take you through that?
Um, I mean, God was in this. My doctorate project was focused on researching about diabetes to find out if patient education decreases hemoglobin A1C and increase the knowledge of people in managing diabetes. So God was already preparing me for this. But God wanted to get me into this conversation full blown, full fledged. And it takes a man to experience it, to have the 360 knowledge, the full knowledge of it all. Diabetes has turned into an epidemic, in worldwide
Well,
epidemic.
yeah.
And it's not because people don't do the right thing. It's not because all the associations, the medical doctors, they've not made enough effort. It's just because people don't understand diabetes fully so well. My pastor was saying it today in the church. Do you know, I did not even know that chromium-rich food is what is needed to overcome diabetes. I said, I know because I have been through it. So this is the issue here. I became diabetic because I have, the gene. My cousin actually died from diabetes.
Okay.
And yeah, my sister has diabetes. It runs in my family. And I don't eat carelessly. That was what my son told me last time. He said, Mommy, you don't even eat sugar. You don't eat like regular. I don't know how you ended up with diabetes. And that's why I'm saying that God decided to drag me into this conversation
Yeah.
so I can help with ending this epidemic. And I had my issues going on at the moment. We're just recovering from the COVID pandemic. It was 2021. And I was working from home for about 2 months. I was, prior to that, in 2020, when the COVID was on the rise, I worked isolation center. I don't know if that was where I contacted my COVID virus. And by February, I found that I was recovering. I was so sick. And then when I was so dizzy at my part-time job one day, I said, check my blood sugar for me. And when they checked, it was 428. I said, my goodness, what is this? And thankfully, I know how to take care of myself. I got insulin, got prescription of metformin, and it was difficult for that blood sugar to come down. And it was no joke, coming down from 428 down to below 200, which is the acceptable level. It took a few months. And it was my knowledge that saved me. Because I already had prior knowledge in the doctorate program, I went back to my notes. I had to go and read my notes because, yeah, I know it's quite embarrassing, but it's the truth. Because I had people in my study. I have nearly 20 people that went through my research study. So everything I taught them, I had to teach myself. So, because all the people that were in my study, they overcame diabetes. Even the doctor told me, say, you are a beast. I don't know what you told the patients I gave you, but I had to adjust their medications because they all overcame diabetes. So I told myself, whatever I taught those people must be helpful. And dental care was one of them. I had to start seeing my dentist,
Okay.
at least twice a year, because the buildup of bacteria in the mouth can cause blood sugar spikes. Okay. And if blood sugar is elevated, it can also lead to problems with the gum, with the tooth. It goes hand in hand. And then also, I was overweight. I was obese. I was 258 pounds. And that means I had something we call insulin resistance, because when somebody is obese, there's definitely insulin resistance in the body. And obesity is one of the major risk factors of diabetes. And I knew at once that I need to lose weight. And I had to lose nearly 10% of my body weight. When my weight dropped down to 225, I found out that my blood sugar dropped because my body was no more resisting the insulin, you know. So also I made some life changes because I live a very stressful life.
Yeah.
One thing with stress is that when somebody is always stressed out, there's a homocortisone that goes up in the body. And when that cortisone hormone is elevated due to stress, the blood sugar goes up. So to be able to control that cortisone hormone to normal level, I knew I needed to decrease my stress level. I used to work 7 days a week, and I had to start working 6 days a week, and now I work 5 days a week. I said, let me go back to the Bible,
Yeah.
because all my knowledge, I base it off of the Bible. Just like the Spirit of the Lord told me today, he said, never you take any glory in the book you wrote, because I inspired you to write that book. And really, God did. Everything in that book was inspired by God. And
So
it's the truth.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah. So you were doing all of this research, and it is as if you were being prepared for your journey, and then
Yes.
in order to get this book out, this project, you had to live through it.
Yes, I lived through it. That's the right word.
Right. So you lived through it and you have overcome it. And you mentioned a few things here, which, I'm thinking, wow, dental care, who would think that dental care could affect diabetes? I could bring on diabetes and all these things. So it's not that, you're not taking care of yourself. Diabetes can affect anyone. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Diabetes is one thing that does not discriminate. It cuts across all race, all age. That's where we are now in worldwide. Even children are being diagnosed of diabetes. It's because people don't know how to manage it. They don't know the causes of diabetes. It's not only the type of food you eat. That was what we believed before.
Yeah.
But now we find that it's more than the food we eat. Even the type of exercise you do affects you. And I was discussing with my pastor today. He was like, nobody even told me that I have to do specific type of exercise, nor eat certain type of food. Oh no, that's the truth. The kind of exercise you need is the resistant exercise, weightlifting. doing squat, push-ups, stationary bike pedaling, jogging, those kind of high intensity
Right.
exercise that prevents insulin resistance that hits hard on the muscles of the body. Things that will burn off the fat in your body to prevent the fatty part that is on top of the pancreas and the liver. Those are the kind of exercise you need to do to overcome diabetes. But people don't know these secrets. And that's why the Holy Spirit reminded me that He gave me this knowledge, because so many people don't have this knowledge. Even the food we eat, be very mindful of the food you eat. There's some people that tell, I starved throughout the day and my blood sugar is still high. It's not about starvation. It's about eating the right food, eating food like beans. Beans is very rich in chromium. If you eat beans every day, your blood sugar won't be high. If you eat food like broccoli is very good. It's a high chromium food. Your blood sugar won't be high. If you eat food like the steel cut oats, the old-fashioned oats, blood sugar won't be high. It has a lot of fiber in it. If you eat wheat, 100% wheat food, don't eat white bread, eat wheat. Brown rice, like the Uncle Ben's brown rice, your blood sugar won't be high. If you drink lemon, add lemon, the homemade lemon, to your water and drink every day, your blood sugar won't be high. If you drink half of your body weight, like if you weigh 200 pounds, and you drink water of 100 ounces, that's about 6 bottles of water every day, your blood sugar won't be high, because water flushes the sugar out of your body. Okay, there are principles to overcoming diabetes. And this is the missing puzzle. I had to live through it to know it. And I know you may not agree with me that God put me through this diabetes. It could have been God.
Yep.
Because when my father told me, I listened, don't get me wrong. But this whole book was sitting down in my computer for almost 2 years, until 2021 when it hit me hard.
Yeah.
That I really got serious in writing it. I said, I have to complete this book. There's a reason my father made me to realize that I need to tell everyone worldwide about it. And now it has affected me. Who knows what is going to be the next step? This is how it all came about.
So I'm just listening to you and I'm thinking, why is it that I've grown up around people who I know have had diabetes, and all they depend on is insulin, and now here you're telling me there's principles to that. Why is it that so many little of us know these things? What is it that we are not getting, why people believe that we have to do medication the only way?
Yes, you have to do medication, because I prescribe medication. I'm not anti-medication.
Right.
I still take medications. I know my doctor wants to take all my medications from me, honestly speaking. Last time I went, I said, I need my metformin. He said, you need to take a quarter tablet of that metformin if you insist to take it. I was like, how can I take 1/4 of? He said, you know everything. I don't want you to end up with low blood sugar, for God's sake, grace. So my injection I take, there's something they call Mounjaro. I take it for weight loss. I'm on the 2.5 milligram, which is the lowest dose. Sometimes I go 2 weeks, I don't even take it, because I don't need it, okay? Because I'm doing the right thing. I've lost so much weight, and I've lost almost 100 pounds. That was how I said goodbye to diabetes.
Right.
But the thing is that people that are dependent on insulin, it's just because they don't have this kind of knowledge that I have. When I was diagnosed, I was only prescribed metformin, and that was not working for me.
Right.
So I had to go and purchase what they call chromium supplements. They sell it in the pharmacy. I was taking the chromium once a day, in addition to metformin 500 milligrams twice a day. And when I started taking chromium, my blood sugar dropped. And where did I get that knowledge from? I went on the National Institute of Health website to read about it, that most people diagnosed of type 2 diabetes are deficient in chromium. I said, guess what? If they are deficient in chromium, that means when I take chromium, that deficiency will be gone and I will overcome diabetes. That was my explanation. That's why everybody, they're purchasing my book, because they want to know exactly what I did. And it's the truth. And after I dropped my blood sugar to 80, sometimes my blood sugar is even 70, I stopped taking chromium supplements. And I started eating the chromium-rich food instead, that I just listed: the beans, the broccoli, the wheat products, and oats, and all of that. I now eat most of the food instead of taking the supplement. So my advice to people that are, dependent on insulin is, maybe it's time to start eating right. Eat chromium-rich food.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to take care of your teeth. At least see the dentist twice a year. Tooth care, make sure you brush your teeth at least twice a day. Do the flossing, very important. Reduce your stress level. Have a stress management technique is very important. And exercise right,
So,
Vitamin D. Vitamin D is very good too. I also recommend that for people, and cook right, the right spices, like using cinnamon. Cinnamon is very good. Garlic is very good. The tea you drink, black tea, green tea, all those are good. Peppermint tea, blueberry, strawberry. There is so much out there. And that's why I tell people, go to the Garden of Eden.
yeah.
That's where God left us. There's a reason God created man and left them in the garden, because the cure for so many diseases are in the Garden of Eden. And that was what saved my life. I have a botanical garden. If you read through my book, you find that I took pictures of so many plants that I have in my house: the fig tree, the peach tree, apple, blueberry, cherries. Those are all the solution. That's the cure for diabetes. I mean, even rosemary spice. I don't know if you know rosemary plant.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know about garden.
yeah, it's insulin. It acts like insulin in the body. There's just so much in the Garden of Eden that we need to go back and find to
And
get the cure for diabetes.
so this book that you have written, Victory Steps to Overcome Diabetes, it it is a journey of your diabetes, but also the knowledge you have gained. You have put that for anyone out there who have diabetes, that they can follow. Is there like a steps they can follow?
Yes, steps to overcome diabetes. Yeah.
Right. And you talk about people living with diabetes, the struggle to losing weight, living with hypertension, and how do you do that? So you have tell us more about what we can find in this book.
Yes. Um, I talked about the victory steps to overcome diabetes. I must not forget that. Um, I created the model that really helped me. It was like a compass for me. The first stage is discovery. Discover what made you get to where you are. Why have you been diagnosed with diabetes? Make a list of everything. Like I mentioned before, I was overweight, my gene, all of that, my eating habit, my stress level. Then the next stage is determination. I was determined to change. I was like, I've discovered all of this about myself. It's time to make changes, determined. Then the next stage is discipline. I told myself, I have to be disciplined. That shall not work too hard. I cut my budget so I can survive on working 6 days a week. That shall not eat anything sweet, no ice cream, eating healthy, cooking at home. Homemade food is the best. That came from part of being disciplined. And if I must eat, I must not eat excessively. I should eat healthy. Like if I get hungry, I grab an avocado or apple, and that is very healthy. That will not cause blood sugar spikes. And that's the most important part of that model, discipline. That's where most diabetics fall short. They cannot control themselves, some of them, though, but some people can. And that was the third stage of this model. And then the fourth stage is doing. Doing is, oh, you've had all of these. You say you're going to be determined, you're going to be disciplined. Now let's do it. Let's get it done. Okay, that's the fourth stage. first stages of this V3 step model. And now getting on to hypertension. For some reason, people with diabetes get diagnosed with hypertension. Because one thing with diabetes is that diabetes is very destructive. Yeah. And I describe diabetes as a wildfire. When somebody is diagnosed of diabetes, when that blood sugar is so elevated, it destroys the organs of the body. It destroys the nerves, the arteries. And the arteries of the kidney can be affected. And when it's affected, blood pressure can go up, okay? And not just that alone, this elevated blood sugar can also destroy the heart. The arteries of the heart, if they are destroyed, the blood pressure can go up. And also even the arteries taking blood to the brain, it can be destroyed by diabetes, elevated blood sugar. And that's why you see that people that have diabetes, they are high risk for stroke, for kidney problems, hypertension, even they have amputation. It destroys the nerves. You know, people can no more feel their leg. You touch them, they can't even feel it. At that point, you know that diabetes has destroyed the nerves of the legs. And sometimes they end up with injuries, wounds that non-healing wound. And that's why you find that some diabetics, they cut off some of their legs. And, you know, it's a very sad situation. Even people with diabetes can end up with something we call erectile dysfunction, even stomach problems, GI, gastrointestinal problems. Just when I made a video on it, I said it's head and shoulder, knees and toes. Every part of the body is destroyed with diabetes.
Yeah.
It's destroyed by diabetes. And this is where that comes from. And I did provide the helpful tips to overcome hypertension. As a diabetic, you should just be so cautious. The main goal every day you wake up is to keep your blood sugar between 80 to 130 before you eat. And after you eat, 2 hours after you eat, blood sugar should not be more than 180. That is how to stay out of trouble. Because when that person with diabetes has elevated blood sugar of 200, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for trouble. It's a recipe for complications for hypertension. And somebody with diabetes should not smoke cigarettes.
Yeah.
Just stay away from cigarettes, because cigarette is like setting the body ablaze, okay? And you already have diabetes, which is #1 destroyer in the body. You are trying to curtail that and you adding cigarette on top of it. That's just not good at all. So my advice to anyone smoking is put that cigarette down. Tell your doctor to prescribe you something that will help you for smoking cessation. And also people with diabetes, hypertension, especially with hypertension, you know that when somebody drinks alcohol, the blood pressure is elevated, okay? And it's not a good idea for anybody that has hypertension to engage in drinking alcoholic beverages. If they must drink 1 alcoholic beverage, it's okay for the day. For a woman, men maybe like 2, but it's not even advisable because it's not the best choice at all. And on the other side of the coin, somebody drinking, we can have hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia is low blood sugar. So it's just not, it's not good in the plan of care for anybody with diabetes to drink.
Yeah, so you're in this book, which is a must-have if you are suffering with those, and even if you're not, it's a good way to prevent. So it's about being prepared before you get to that stage, isn't it?
Yes, you should be. Yeah, try to be disciplined. Stay away from drinking and smoking if you can, and if you can't, talk to your doctor about it to give you the right prescription that will help you abstain from all of that. And about the elevated cholesterol, for some reason, people with diabetes, they suffer from high cholesterol. It's just the way it is. And that's why you find that some doctors just prescribe something we call statins, cholesterol lowering medicines for people with diabetes. It's actually recommended at age 40 that people with diabetes should be on some kind of statins. and the doctor always screen them to know what their cholesterol level is. And if it's high, the doctor will put them on cholesterol medication. Because if that does not happen, that medication is not prescribed, their arteries can be clogged. And when the arteries supplying oxygen-rich blood to the heart is blocked, it can cause heart attack. And you know that people with diabetes, they are at high risk for heart attack. And if the elevated cholesterol blocks the heart, it's just double trouble. That's the word, in the layman terms, can increase the risk of heart attack. And so is the risk of stroke. So the best advice for anybody with diabetes is to be on the cholesterol lowering medication, and they have to eat right. What we see today is fast food all over the place. Breaded cheese, breaded shrimp. Shrimp is very high in cholesterol. When people eat shrimp, they think, oh, I'm eating very healthy food. No, shrimp is loaded with cholesterol, and now you bread it. It's just recipe for trouble. This is why people are dying from diabetes, because they are not told the truth. They don't know what the danger of what they are into. So that's why I always recommend homemade food for people with diabetes.
And in that final stage is the VSM. Tell us about the VSM?
Oh, the VSM?
Yes.
The model?
Yes.
Okay, the victory step model, the last stage is doing. Doing means get everything you've learned done, do what you have been taught.
Okay.
And I based it off of the Bible verse that says faith without work is dead. You can say, oh, I have the faith, God will heal me from diabetes, I have this, I have that. No, stop right there. Even the Bible says faith without work is dead. You have to do what the Bible says. You have to do what God says. You have to follow instructions. And that's why the foundational quote of my book is, we cannot change the direction of the wind, but we can change our boat to get to our destination. Faith without work is dead. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. But we have a part to play. You can pray all you want to pray, but if you don't eat right as a diabetic, if you don't get out of your bed to exercise, if you don't decrease your stress level, if you don't take your medications, if you don't do the right thing, don't sleep right. Some people don't sleep. They sleep 2-3 hours. There's no way you can control diabetes if you don't have a good sleeping pattern. You should sleep at least 7 to 8 hours to be able to overcome diabetes. There are do's and don'ts. And this book is loaded with information. It's a book that comes from my heart. It's based off of my experience. God inspired me. I'm not going to ever take any glory in this book because it was how God got me back from death to life, And
where can people tell us where we can get a hold of this book?
The book is available on Amazon.com. If you type into your browser Amazon, when it comes up, just browse on it. Just put in your browser Victory Step to Overcome Diabetes. We are working so hard to make it available even on iBook, on Google, Barnes and Nobles. We're working on it, but it's going to be everywhere very soon.
So it's available on Kindle edition, hardback and paperback copies in the UK, and you can just go to Amazon and you'll find it there. Tell us about other works and do we have videos, and where else can you find information about the work that you're doing and information on diabetes and all those things?
I have a support group on Facebook. It's called Amazing Grace Diabetes and Weight Loss Center. If you type that into your browser, it will take you right into my support page. And then also, if you type in my name, Grace Ogala, you'll be able to find my videos on YouTube. And also, I have another support group called Amazing Grace Health Center. And I also have a support group called Victory Over Diabetes. You just put my name in the browser to lead you to so many information about me.
And Grace, tell us about one experience, one patient or somebody who have read your book, have put this model into place and have seen the victory. I'm sure you have many experience of that.
Oh, I have so many. countless. Oh, I actually had somebody that told me last time. He said, you know that on your diet plan, I eat more. And my my blood sugar is so low. I was laughing. I said, it's about eating the right food. It's not about eating more. Like he eats a bowl of a salad before bedtime. He just put some chicken on it and breadcrumbs. He said, and it fills me so well. I said, what you just ate, it's just fiber, it's vegetables. And you just ate just a handful of breadcrumbs and the grilled chicken. Guess what? There's no sugar in it. So it's not going to increase your blood sugar. And in chapter 1 of my book, I talked about my victory principle, where I said, with diabetic, you can say you are diabetic and you start eating a bowl of ice cream, pounding on all the sugar. And that's what I teach my patients. And they have tremendous testimony. You know, people with blood sugar 499, you know, when he was telling me the good news, I was so blown away. His blood sugar is now 180. And I say, how did you do it? He said, I did all you told me to do. I now eat right, I exercise, I decrease my stress level. I'm doing great. And I think this is what everyone needs to be told. Like somebody commented on my Facebook page, they say, what you have here, I think everybody needs to hear about it. And he tried to help me out with my YouTube channel, you know, but it's the truth. What I know, I believe everybody needs to know it so we can get a good handle on this diabetes and overcome it. Because right now the epidemic is tearing us all worldwide. You know, I was reading the statistical data recently. It's saying that 1 in 2 people have prediabetes and 1 in 3 people have diabetes. That means 1/3 of people worldwide, you know, likely have diabetes, and that's not a good statistical data. It's time to get to work. Every one of us should get to work to end this epidemic.
Right, right. Now, we're almost coming to an end now with this conversation, but what else can, you know, you're in the medical field. Is there another field that apart from diabetes that you're working on, or what is the next book that is coming out? What is the next step for Dr. Grace Ogala?
My next step, I'm actually writing a book on triumph over obesity. I know I've already put in my thoughts together because obesity is a worldwide epidemic and is the main cause of the problem that we have today. I really want everyone to work together to end the epidemic of obesity because obesity is blamed for the cause of diabetes, heart disease, sleep apnea. When somebody have excessive weight, they cannot breathe when they sleep, you know, and the kidneys, you know, everything is overworked. Because, you know, when God created mankind, is, you know, like the organs of the body, you know, it has specific size, okay? Specific size for specific body size. But now when you add your own weight to it, you are choking that organ. And that's it. Just to make people aware that there's a need to, you know, watch their weight and try to have the normal body weight so they can live a healthy and happy life.
Great, great. So we encourage all of you, whether you're struggling with diabetes or not, to get a hold of Dr. Grace Ogala's book, Victory Steps to Overcoming Diabetes. There's a health plan in it. Takes you through maintaining your weight, exercise, eating healthy, dental care, stress, even foot care and skin care is a part of the book. So you can get it on Amazon. And if anybody want to get in touch with you, Dr. Ogala, apart from Facebook, is there anywhere else they can find you or get in touch with you?
Yeah, they can email me, victorysteps@yahoo.com. Yeah.
So you can email her and get in touch with her. And when are you going to be on this side of the pond in the UK? Have you any plans to come to the UK to do any work?
Anytime you need me. Yeah, just let me know ahead of time, at least a month ahead of time, so I take proper permission at work.
Okay, good, good, good.
I will be happy to travel worldwide
Your
to
book,
teach people how to overcome diabetes.
yeah, your book is going worldwide. So now you can be worldwide traveling with your book and sharing the good news of how to overcome diabetes, and not just overcoming diabetes, but live healthy lifestyle. Um, I leave the last word for you. What, if you want to leave one word or, say something to those people who are suffering with diabetes, who are struggling with weight loss or anything like that. You have given us so many ideas and little nuggets, but what would be your last word?
You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. All things are possible. Uh, if I can do it through the grace of God, you can. Put your mind to it. Do not give up.
Right. So we just want to thank you, Dr. Gala, for spending the time sharing with us your story, your struggles, and how you're overcoming diabetes, and how we can live a healthy life. I want to thank you for the amazing work that you're doing and the faith that you have incorporated with your work as a medical missionary, I'll say, and you're spreading that good news all around. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to seeing you in the flesh some point in the future. And, I'll definitely get a hold of this book and, I'll be living up those principles because a lot of these things I know I need to adhere to before I get to that stage. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you for being online and watching. And we hope that you will get this book and read it and apply the principles to your life. So until next time, in the next episode, we want to say thank you for joining us here on Impact Conversation. Thank you. Bye.